Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
Kish is present and Abraham is absent.
Yeah, and Chris Denny called to say he would not be here.
I have the meeting minutes from the January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Lynch with the pledge to the flag. Roll call, Lynch, Euring, and Kish were present. Abraham was absent. Also in attendance was M. Orozco, C. Nyhart, A. Buckholz, and S. Buckholz. 1-7, and K. Marsh, you were here. That's a correction. Kevin was
Okay.
here.
That was the one you weren't here.
Oh,
The
you were
last
not
one.
here. Okay, I'm sorry. You're always here, so.
Oh, you'll see further, I think, in the minutes, he even explain why he's not.
Okay, 1-7-24, motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring, to approve the January 9th regular meeting minutes as presented and corrected. All ayes. 1-8-24, motion by Euring, seconded by Lynch. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing as presented. All ayes. 1-9-24, motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring. Move to approve that the December 2023 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. Fiscal Officer Kish reported that 2023 year-end was completed and all filings have been submitted and the books are closed. Chris also noted that the paperwork required from the auditor for ACH deposits has been filed with the auditor, including a certified copy of the resolution passed. Audience concerns, there were none. Correspondence, Lorraine County Township Association had a presentation at their last meeting regarding large solar farms. The county commissioners had asked for the townships and municipalities to consider a resolution limiting large wind and solar facilities. This board needs to decide at a future meeting if there are areas that a large-scale wind or solar facility is not allowed in the township. Trustee Lynch noted that we just received word that Amherst Township has been awarded a NOPEC Energized Community Grant in the amount of $11,661 for 2024 and must be spent by November 30th, 2026. Under reports, for ambulance, annual meeting of the Sandstone Ambulance District on Thursday, February 1st, 2024 at 4 p.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. For the sheriff, Deputy Fuller had a baby, so she will be off and will return soon as a community officer. Under zoning, no report this evening due to illness. Trustee Lynch said Get-Go has again approached regarding the Golden Acres land, but no information has come forward regarding a site plan review. Building Inspector Horseman is working on the Redwood development plans with inspections needed for the development. Under Fire Inspector, Fire Inspector Neidhart reported that if someone is looking to put solar panels on their roofs, the township may want to look into electrical permits for inspection on these. A discussion ensued regarding what the building code allows. Road, Park, and Cemetery, Roads Superintendent Marsh was absent due to illness. Trustee Lynch noted that Bob Kleiber requested information on the chip and seal program for 2024. Trustee Lynch noted that Township Administrator is working on an EPA chloride grant for repair of the salt shed, and we are having difficulties on getting a quote for the repair. Trustee Lynch noted that he would like to move forward with the application this year since there is no guarantee there will be a grant next year. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. Trustee Lynch noted that the Waste Hauling Consortium will be meeting next on April 17th, 2024 at the Lorain County Solid Waste Learning Center, 538 South Abbey Road, Elyria. The next regular scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, February 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 1-10-24, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring to adjourn at 7:49 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the January 23rd meeting minutes?
I have none. I have none. I was
Make a
pretty good.
motion to approve as presented?
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
I also have the February 5th, 2024 special trustee meeting minutes. The meeting was called together at 8:02 a.m. by Chairman Lynch. Roll call, Lynch and Euring were present. Abraham and Kish were absent. Also attending, T. Bode, L. Ashley, S. D'Ambrosio, and G. Lynch. The pledge to the flag and reading of prior meeting minutes were deferred to the regular meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to meet and appoint township architect and any other township business. 2-1-24, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring. Move to appoint T. Bode township architect. All ayes. The next meeting is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall, 2224. Motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick. Move to adjourn at 8:30 a.m. All ayes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the February 5th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Okey dokey. Financials. You've got the payment listing in front of you. Nothing out of the ordinary. With the payments, our revenue. To date is $109,041.95. And our expenditures are $145,504.59.
There was 109 revenue and expenditures of,
145,504.59.
okay, 145. Okay. That's what I wanted.
Do you have any questions on those, David? Or
On the bills?
pretty
No,
standard?
no. That I do not.
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion to approve the financial reports and the payments of items on the payment listing as provided by the fiscal officer.
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Urick.
I was going to say with
Yes.
reservation, but
Bills with reservations. Okay. Yes.
we're ready, Chris.
Oh, Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
And there's no credit card
Nope.
this time. Okay, there are a couple of items here that Chris had requested. The first one is, we've had this where the auditor and the treasurer are working on sending over the property taxes with the ACH. We've received conflicting information between the auditor's office and the prosecutor's office. Our previous resolution identified the fiscal officer as the individual or person that could make changes to the bank account and give the account number and routing number. The prosecutor says that's sufficient. The auditor still wants the name, so all I've done is this is a motion to reconsideration of resolution number 1324, identifying the fiscal officer as the person authorized to make changes to Amherst Township bank account. And you'll see if you go down further, it says upon reconsideration of resolution number 1324, Amherst Township fiscal officer Christine Kish is the authorized person that can make changes to the Amherst Township bank account. I'm not going to go through the rest, but basically it just says Chris to give a certified copy to the Lorraine County Tax Settlement Department. I don't know if they'll accept that by email or not, but you have the email of the individual. I think it's even copied in here, Sonia Beat, as far as needing this information.
Right.
Okay. Hopefully they'll accept that, otherwise can mail it or walk it down. That's my motion.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
And the number on that, Chris?
Is 26.
26.
Why did we have to reconsider, Neil, on this? I know there was some question of the finality of it, but I'm just trying to...
I'm just filling it out, David, and I'll
Yeah.
get to that in a minute. Okay. I'm not a lawyer. What I'm going to tell you is that in a previous suit I was involved with that the township participated in, that became a big issue that the attorneys before the Ohio Tax Department and even getting all the way to the Supreme Court argued back and forth. And as to where someone had inappropriately in their legislation, this was more in a municipality, didn't do it properly because they had one motion in place. They never said they were reconsidering that motion, or, in their case, an ordinance. They did another one, and then it was which one applies. And so the way the attorneys that represented the township in their position was that you should always reference the first one if you're reconsidering that, or let them know specifically that it supersedes it. In our case, we aren't superseding it. We're just modifying it to add Chris's name down as the person. If you read the original document, which I did attach there, it never specifically said I wanted a proper name or a name. It's the person. Well, then look up the definition of what person is in Webster's, and you're going to find out what we did was fine. So all this is to handle what seemed to be a conflict between what the prosecutor's office said and what the auditor's office said. And it's really, to me, not a major issue. It's just we have to know if the fiscal officer changes, is to remember you got this resolution hanging out there, and I assume they'll let us know it's now a new person. Chris is no longer here. Who's the new person? As you're aware, David, several fiscal officers in Lorraine County changed over this year.
Yeah, that's another item you want to be aware of. So this is something, rather than continuing, it's something that's going to have to be refreshed anytime there's a changeover.
Unless the prosecutor and the auditor reach some sort of agreement, if you read our resolution, we're covered both ways. So the way by specifically saying fiscal officer, who is currently Chris Kish, we're covered. Okay? All right, the second one, this is a resolution that Chris needed. We currently have, the township has 2 locations where funds that aren't in immediate need are currently being invested. It's either Star, Ohio, or in certificates of deposit that are less than 5 years in maturity, 5 years or less. And Chris keeps the majority right now at Star, Ohio, and when she sees she can get a better rate than Star, Ohio, she works with Multi-Bank Securities, which handles public funds. But Multi-Bank Securities, and it's explained through all this detail, and I don't recall exactly in reading it. I think it's every 5 years they have to renew authorizing resolution by, in our case, the Board of Trustees, to allow the investment of these funds. And so that's what Chris was asking for. So this resolution is authorizing the fiscal officer to complete the documentation required to invest with Multi-Bank Securities Incorporated, consistent with the township's investment policy. That'll be my motion.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
That's
7.
okay. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay, and that's everything, I think, under the financials there, Chris, unless you had something else. Okay. All right, I'll now move to welcome everyone in attendance. There was a gentleman here.
He was here, he wanted to talk to Sam.
Oh, he wanted to talk with Sam? Okay, is Sam here?
No, Sam's not here this evening.
Okay, so he left then? All right, well, then there's no one in attendance, so we'll move on to correspondence. I did leave on there, David, the OTA 2024 Winter Conference that was this past week over several days. We did both attend. I didn't know if you wanted a summary of discussion of what you learned there, what was going on. I know you and I were in some of the same training sessions, but we also went to some that were different.
I think that I don't know what the summary. I found it more interesting this year than I did last year. I think it was better, there's more items. remember explanations of some things such as force accounts, new limits, but, when one is supposed to be used, not used, that was good to be reviewed, and other items, talking about solar farms and talking about zoning issues. But, some of it was, although you've heard it before, it's good review. It's a good review. I know there's concern, and this was not necessarily in one of the conferences, but there is concern about the state looking at the property tax and at township zoning in the residential sector, making some dramatic changes to that. So that was interesting. That was very interesting, and that's all I can add right now. I don't know what you would like to add or not, but some issues might be coming down the pike.
Well, and I will cover some. It was good where, like you were able to go to the one on force accounts, which obviously was one I couldn't attend because you see too many times they offer, 6 to 8 classes within a time slot. Well, you can only be at one. Sometimes if you get into one, you find out either the presenter isn't doing a good job or something else going on, you'll walk out and go to another one, but I wasn't able to attend that. What I did attend, only because they impact our township immediately, is all the ones on funding and financing. That's where I focused on. And one of the biggest items there is, since we have coming up immediately 2 large purchases in equipment. We've got the new fully outfitted truck, which is over, just under $250,000. And I think the choice we did for cash flow was the one at a rate of 6.3% for a term of 3 years. That's on state bid. Well, in the section on the lease purchase, the presenters there actually had the lease purchase option could help us from 2 positions right now. We might still be able, the way they believe, and they work with the Department of Administrative Services here in Ohio. They also work with Sourcewell, which is a multi-state cooperative purchasing, which is where we're looking at that new $1.3 million tanker truck. But since this was, I think, the first day of the conference, I believe I sent it to Linda and Kevin both. I may have sent it to everyone, but asked that they make the contact immediately. I'd gone to see these individuals during the vendor exhibit, since they were also one of the exhibiting vendors, that if they could check into it and see if there's a benefit to the township. Obviously, if the rate they were talking about is correct, we would, if we left it just at 3 years, which is costing the township about $80,000 a year over 3 years, that would give us an immediate savings just in the cost. But what I'm more concerned with, because I remember when we were going through the budget hearings, Chris, and rightfully so, cautioning us about the budget and the cash flow. So what I think would be more important is if we could use the lease purchase to extend it. In this case, I would probably lean towards 5 years. Even if we don't get the direct savings, to reduce our annual cost so that we don't make things in our road department too tight or have to start pulling the funds out of our general fund. So I don't know for certain if we'll be able to get this. Linda's working on it, and she'll keep in coordination with Kevin because that truck is due in August. If you remember when we put that in, that's 6 months ago now, Kevin? To get the state bid price that was there at the time, we had to get an order in. And because these things do, that one fortunately wasn't as long as the fire truck, which had a 38-month lead time. But this did have a lead time on it, but right now it's projected that it will be available in August. When I had spoken with this particular supplier for lease purchase, they felt that that is still a doable situation, and they pretty much said they could save us money. And so we'll find out, you know.
I did reach out to Stephanie Perez, and I have not heard back from her yet.
Okay.
So I just asked her to send me some information, and then we will arrange a time that we can chat, you know, but I wanted to look at it first to
Okay,
even
yeah.
know what questions to ask her.
Good. Well, as long as we get it, Linda, because of the timing here in August, because the other thing they had said with the expectation of the Federal Reserve reducing rates, if it's longer term, like our fire truck, their recommendation is wait, don't do it yet. But this truck is due in August, so we'd have to get that set up ahead of time. So that's where the immediate focus is going to be on the road truck, and then secondary, you know, it can do it concurrently, but we've got time. We won't enter into any lease purchase arrangement on the fire truck. We may delay that as we get further down the road, since the anticipation is that rates are going to drop. Right now, we're planning on paying for that truck outright with no finance charge whatsoever. The issue is, and we're safe on the fire fund and EMS fund. That's not a major issue right now, but what we know is, particularly since we just had the new 3-year agreement for EMS, is that our costs are now going to be on an annual basis. If you look at our cash flow, our costs are going to be exceeding the funds we're taking in. Now, fortunately, we've got a balance in those funds, so that reserve fund and that carryover, you know, carries us through for some time. But I don't want to see where we take out $1.3 million all in one fell swoop. And then now we're digging into that reserve faster, which would mean you'd have to ask for a new levy from the voter sooner. So if we're able to extend that, we can actually extend the time before you have to go back to the voters and ask for more funding. Not saying we'll do that, but it's just something to look at and see if it makes sense. And to put it in perspective, the truck we're replacing, we brought in 2003. So we're now over 20 years on that truck. And the only reason we put the order in was the City of Amherst Fire Department was ordering I believe they were getting a new pumper, and they got shocked when they found out what the lead times were. And in their mind, the maintenance cost on that existing tanker truck is just getting out of whack. So their recommendation was, hey, let's get an order in sooner rather than later. And that's when we got through Sourcewell, which is also a cooperative purchasing, is that it would be 38 months lead time on that truck. You know, the days where they used to keep the basic one on hand isn't the case anymore. So they're building right per order. So it just, I'd say that's where I was excited to see that. There was also, I wish I would have known sooner, though I don't know if the timing would have helped us. I always considered USDA rural development more for water and sewer projects for small communities. I didn't realize they do facilities and equipment. Where that might have helped us, though I don't know if time-wise, because I know they also take a long time, having worked with them at the federal level and also for some sewer and water projects. It's not immediate availability of funds. And if you recall, we built that structure in the park with the coronavirus funds, and we only had that year, we had to spend them within the year. So it would have been nice had we been able to leverage some additional funds, but where it might help is since we've got multiple school districts in the Amherst Township, but one of them is building a new bus garage. And if they meet within the Amherst School District, if there's less than 20,000 people, they're eligible for that type of funding. So that's up to the schools to look at. Doesn't help our township directly, but indirectly, it might be less money. Same thing as we're talking about not going to the voters for another levy for fire and EMS. It may delay when they have to go to voters for the schools. Solar, And wind turbines, I focused on those when I could because of the letter, and we're going to address that we received from the prosecutor on behalf of Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. Since the law was changed, we're now, as opposed to the Ohio Power Siting Board, having full authority over the approval and permitting for utility scale solar and wind projects, is now the Board of Commissioners has the authority to identify in the unincorporated area areas that are either not where they don't permit them. Now, that doesn't mean they're not permitted forever. It just means if the county does that and someone comes in with a good project, there's an extra, they'd have to go through some extra steps to reverse that and permit them in that area. So to me, it does provide some safety and security for those adjoining property owners that may not be as excited to have one of these utility scale projects right next to them. Also learned there's a new legislation going through. You know, those tend to be those 50 megawatts and above. There's a new, what they call community solar going on, which is for 20 megawatts and below. And the way the individual, who obviously the presenter was very much in support of these, since that's where they earn their bread and butter, is they're saying that their recommendation in working with our state legislature is that these projects be subject to our zoning. Right now, the only ones subject to our zoning are those that are 5 megawatts and lower. Amherst Township has only put in specific zoning regulations for wind turbines, and a lot of that is because of the flicker, noise, and making sure there's appropriate fall area, and then decommissioning it when it's no longer working or needs maintenance. We kind of treated solar panels for individual residents like accessory buildings. There's really nothing, which we discussed at the last meeting, preventing people from putting them on rooftops, but if they put them in the yard, is they have to maintain the setbacks from their neighbors. So that'll be interesting where that goes, and I sat in a meeting which the presenters were actually the director of the staff for the Ohio Power Siting Board and a couple of his people, and that was pretty interesting to hear how things are, and things have changed, but they did say this is still in transition. As far as the marijuana, which that'll be coming up also, the presenters there just tried to educate people on where this stands. Right now, recreational use in Ohio has been approved. The main situation there is there are currently 120 licenses that have been issued for the medical marijuana. They expect every one of those retail outlets to also receive the licensing for the recreational. And excuse me, they plan on issuing initially 350. So it would be 350 potentially throughout the state of Ohio. So I don't know, being one of the 88 counties, but one of the larger counties, how many will end up here in Lorraine County. What they've done slightly different, in addition to your regular sales tax, there's an additional 10% tax put on these. And of that 10% tax, 30% will go to the local community where one of these retail outlets for recreational marijuana sets up. So it's just interesting to hear what's going on. As far as the current legislation that was approved by the voters allows up to 6 plants per adult in a household over 21, but a maximum of 12 plants per household, which, we average about 2.4 people per household, but usually that 0.4 could be mom or, your grandparents or a child. So they're saying this one too, the state legislature may actually adjust that. There must be a lot of discussion going on with them because you got people lining up on both sides of the fence as far as marijuana. So I think this legislation, we can expect there's still going to be a change, but it seems like they're more focused on the private cultivation of those maximum of 12 plants per household. So who knows where that's going to go. David brought up the property tax. These are the two things, in addition to the property tax that we've got some state legislatures talking about getting rid of. But what do you do when that's the major source of revenue for townships? You know, we're not eligible for the income tax, don't receive the sales tax. We do get the licensing fees, some tobacco fees. We get the gas tax, but these are not major revenue sources for us. So I don't expect that to go anywhere, but there are people really pushing it. The second item that was a major concern to the Ohio Township Association is affordable housing costs. And if you've watched the presentations that the OTAs put on, for some reason it seems like they targeted townships. I guess because they consider most townships usually ask for a lower density or higher lots, but the OTA's position is when you look at the cost of housing, it has very little, you know, in the townships, when you don't see that that's more expensive than it is somewhere else. And I'll give our township as an example, which I did have discussions previously when this was brought up as an issue and they were asked for information. I said, well, wait a minute. I'll give you an example. Amherst Township has 2 manufactured home parks, which are usually the lower cost that are available. We do have some areas of higher density. We also have lower density, but that we actually have opportunity to provide to all of them, and we don't have a building code. Now, there's risk in not having a building code for residential. But that is several $1,000s per home, and I don't see anybody selling a home, selling it at a discount because there wasn't a building code. So the focus from the building association is, oh, they won't allow higher density, and they've got all these strict regulations. I really think our regulations coming through with any housing development are pretty simple also when you compare to some of the other organizations. But there are 2 items we've got to look at. Hopefully, the state legislature doesn't change this, but you can see what they're trying to do is take away the ability for controlling your local zoning and putting that at the county level. I think that there'll be a big fight on their hands, but you know, it was pointed out the difference today, and John Husted did this in his presentation, is that it's a whole different world at the state level now. In the past, you got to know who your state reps were, both in the House and the Senate, because there weren't term limits. Now with the term limits, which, you know, there's a positive in term limits, but there's a negative, you've always got this new group of people coming in with new idea that they want to push, and 6 years from now, they may be gone. And they don't have the history of why things are the way they are today, and they want to make those changes quick while they're in office. So, you know, the 2 to watch right now that could have a big impact on us are the property taxes and affordable housing costs, and how the state legislature might address that. So those are the major items I took away from the conference. It was, you know, it's a pretty intensive conference that we're at. I know I don't even want to hear Georgianne tell me about the zoning, because she went into some of the zoning sessions, started talking about other changes we have to do, which to me is additional work, and right now you feel tapped out as far as all the workload that you currently have. So I just said thank you, keep in mind, put it on the to-do list, but not the immediate to-do list. So now I just want to move on. We've got, unless you have any other questions on the OTA, David.
No, I
Okay.
have nothing else. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, there was one, I think you went to it too, on financing. procedures and sections of the code that you need to follow.
Yeah, very complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, it jumps around. It jumps around.
Yeah, and they've had those presentations in the past, but it's always changing, so you've got to sit through them. And the main takeaway from that is talk with the lawyer. But, okay, the next one, and this is just a reminder, Chris had received some bills from the treasurer for property taxes at various parcels in Amherst Township. In most cases, ours are just the special fee for stormwater, which is charged each governmental entity. But if you look at the screen, and it's in your packet here also, I'd sent to Chris, there was one. It wasn't just for stormwater, they're actually charging us property taxes. And when I checked into where that parcel is, you can see it's over where the Angle and Batten House ditch come together. And we really shouldn't be paying, as far as I'm concerned, property taxes on that. And that was, let's see, this particular parcel we purchased for $18,000 in 2019. And you'll ask, why would we do that? Well, the reason was the property owner at the time owned property both to the northwest and the southeast of the ditch, and he wanted to maintain where he could get access there. And what we had to do was take out, there were some pipes sitting in that area. County engineer recommended to do this right. We had to take those out, and to bring through the large farm equipment that he was talking about would have involved putting in an 84-inch diameter by 30-foot long pipe in that area with head walls at a cost of just under $47,000. So after negotiating back and forth, we had settled in on $18,000, which actually was less than the appraised value. And the $18,000 expenditure obviously saved us quite a bit of money versus $47,000. So to us, this whole ditch restoration was to reduce the frequency and intensity of flooding that we get on Stang and Oberlin Road, plus some of the ag land that's in the area, and then some of the basements, and some of the people over on Stang Road have basements. And so in my mind, this was done all for public purpose. And I think it's a good argument. I don't see how anyone can say it's anything else, because we have no use for that land. It's landlocked in there, and so this was just done for the overall benefit of the drainage and health people. So I'll leave it up to Chris how she does it, if she just forwards this to the tax settlement, but our current bill is $409 on that. But to also see if we can be reimbursed for everything since we purchased that property back in 2019. And hopefully the auditor agrees with this and can reimburse us through the treasurer and get this off the property tax roll. And since we did this for stormwater improvement, we should have no special assessment on it. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So Chris, I know that's something you can get them to do.
I've reached out to Craig twice and have not heard anything back.
Well, that's you're asking for money. But if you can just stay on it, appreciate it. Okay, the next one is going to be a placeholder. This was, I was hoping to have a resolution prepared for some upgrade and safety improvements to the lighting on Middle Ridge Road, to work with the county engineer. I didn't have time to get that done, so we'll take care of that at the next meeting.
Okay, the mini grant one?
That's the one for the 5 Middle Ridge Road lights there, David.
Five Middle Ridge lights.
All right, but I'll get that done for the next meeting. Then the next one is, and I don't know, Kevin, since I haven't been in touch with you, there was, the workshop players asked if we could look into the lighting for the park trail lights because obviously some of their patrons park in the park and walk their way up. And Mr. Cliff Bemis had indicated that some of the lights were out. I was hoping to get over there at night and see them, but I didn't have a chance to before I took off.
So when I seen it, there was lights out. There's a total of 10 lights. There was 8 lights out.
Wow.
But then I went back the next day and there was only 6 that was out. There's something going on there. So, I've been working with Linda to see possibly through Ohio Edison, getting that taken care of, possibly upgraded with using the grant funds
Okay.
through Ohio Edison. So we've been trying to push it because we said that the lights are out, but trying to get it.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if that's Ohio Edison. We had Butchco originally install them, but
Okay, well, I've been in contact with Butchco with this, but we're at the point now, we're going to try to find out the responsibilities of those lights there. Because the big lights that we have put in,
right.
I'd always call.
Yeah, that's Ohio Edison.
That's
for the
Ohio Edison.
Yeah, the big Cobra lights, right.
So that's where we was at the point where, as a matter of fact, today, seeing if that was an Ohio Edison responsibility versus our responsibility.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the park trail lights are ours. And
Are those on a meter?
I
Or-
believe the meter, you'll have to check, I think, is in that outbuilding, because the way that was set up when this was first done is there's a timer, which you know where to adjust the timer, and then the photo detector. So there were 2 things. The reason we did that in series was that the lights aren't on unless it's dark, and what you're describing sounds more like the photo detectors that are probably failing. But the other thing was, even if it was dark, we weren't going to have the lights going on during the times when the theater's not in operation. So we could have, and that, because of the time changes through the year, we've got to adjust that timer. So that's what was done to conserve energy, and the fact that there was a grant we used to put those in. So it conserves the energy there and met the grant requirements. But I'm reasonably certain those park trail lights you'll find are metered down there and are our lights.
If there's a meter, then
Cobra
there are.
lights are for the Ohio Edison lights. And we
Okay.
put the other one, extra one down there for the safety and security.
Okay.
Okay? But
Well-
yeah, if you guys can work together and
Because, like
get
what-
those funds, the grant funds to help.
Yeah, I talked to NOPEC, and they said if we upgrade to LED, we can use the funds. If we're doing just repairs or maintenance on them, keeping them current, we cannot use the NEC funds.
Well, you guys will have to use your best judgment there, because when we first put them in, we discussed with Butchco, and maybe this was probably before your time, Kevin,
It was.
is we had looked at the LED, which was, we knew the grant would apply to there, but we could even do it for this whole upgrade. But LED lights going back that long ago were very, very expensive. So we insisted, knowing that they tend to be, we told Butchco, we want the fixtures where we can convert to LED in the future, and that's what we were done. And since I probably, just to keep in mind, since you'll definitely be here longer than I am, is when the underground utilities were put in place, there's also conduit going down to that trail down the middle, so that additional lights, if we wanted to in the future, could be extended. But we decided not to, again, just because of costs and monies, we weren't going to put them in at this point in time. Okay?
Yeah, well, we're on it.
Good. I knew you would be. You always are. I was just hoping, once I was looking at this, to see if we could get it changed, that you didn't already get them changed over where we couldn't use the grant funds.
Nope, we're investigating everything. In
Yeah.
Butchco, Kevin had been in contact, and they're supposed to be giving us an estimate I don't know when Bill will be out, but
Okay, great. Okay, the next item we're still under correspondence, is the prosecutor correspondence, and he sent one out, and I think this has been at the request. I know that Elyria Township was looking at this as limiting or prohibiting adult use in cannabis operations. And this was one of the items discussed at the Ohio Township Association conference. You do have this option if you want to do it. And I just wasn't sure where the trustees sit on this issue. So David, Denny's not here today, so I'll just ask you, I don't know what information we should communicate back to the prosecutor's office.
Our feelings on it, the way they explain the law, my feelings would be not to have a dispensary, or not to have a retail establishment. I believe on that.
But that's
about
your
the cannabis.
position? 'Cause
That's my thoughts right now.
Okay, because it has nothing to do with the law. You know, you decide if you want them or don't want them in your community, or if you don't want them in certain areas in your community. So your position is nowhere in the community.
Pretty much.
Okay, well, I can tell you that my position is a little different. First off, I didn't support this measure. I think it's beneficial to people overall. And I know the arguments both ways. I understood the argument of why it was approved. I'm just always concerned, even though this is only supposed to be for adults. I know the state wanted to control who produces it so they can check the quality, and it sounds like they put in good controls to make sure the quality's there, control the level of THC, which is the mind-altering component of the marijuana. They want to control, obviously, the revenue on it, so that's the extra 10%, which they're also using for educational situations. They want to control from, as they say, from seed to cultivation, every step of the process. They wanted to limit how many they can put in throughout the state, which they've done. And they wanted to give to those communities that receive one of these outlets the additional funds in the event that there's, more requirement based on law enforcement, EMS, whatever, that's there. And all that's fine, and I know though I would prefer not to have it. I also have to respect the voters. And if you look here, I'm not looking statewide, just in Amherst Township, and if you look at the screen up here, is we pretty much followed what the state did. Those are showing every precinct, the 4 precincts within Amherst Township that got to vote on this. So of that, there were 2,243 people actually voted on the issue, with 1,276 in support, 967 saying no. So 57%, almost 2 out of 3 residents, voters in Amherst Township actually supported the issue. So that was a surprise to me, but that pretty much mirrored what the state vote count was. So I find it difficult to say no, when I'm outvoted 2-1. So whether you agree with it or not, so then the next question is recognizing, first off, I suspect we won't see one in our township, since there's already the medical dispensary right here in Lorraine. I don't know if Elyria's got one or not. And there's a limit on how many. But I don't know if I want to be the one to say no, since the voters, we know what the voters said on this. We've got some other areas, like we'll be coming up with the wind and solar. It's hard to tell because there hasn't been a vote. So without doing polling, which we don't have the funds for or do, is what are the people that we represent really thinking? And you're never going to get 100%, but 2 out of 3 is a pretty big percentage that supported this issue. So that's, my position, David, is that we not do anything. And if one comes in, they have to comply with the zoning at that particular time. And unless those state legislatures can change things anytime they want, the way it stands right now is that this issue is 30% of that 10% additional tax comes right back to the locals. And I also expect that there's going to be communities falling all over themselves to get these to locate there. I'm certainly not going to go out and propose that and ask them to come in. But, at this point, if you want, we can just wait until we have 3 trustees here, or we can just do nothing. But Greg did give us resolution templates if you wanted to prohibit the dispensaries across the township or just in certain areas. So he did put that together, and I know Elyria Township's looking at it. From what I've seen, no other township stepped up to say, which way are they committing to? So is that acceptable to just let it go?
Bring it up when Denny's here.
Okay.
When we got a full board.
Well, remind me if I don't have it here to bring it up at the next meeting then. I'll try and have that printed out again then, David. Okay, the next item is and this is Denny's, our chosen rep as Lorraine County Public Health District Advisory Council, will be meeting on Thursday, March 28th, 6 o'clock p.m. at the Lodge in New Russia Township. So, and that's open to the public. And the last item of correspondence I have is just the county looking for written material for the bicentennial. And I don't know, Chris, did you receive this, or Linda? I'm not sure who put it. Okay, do you have this glassine envelope they're talking about? Did they send that to you? What is it, just a plastic? Oh, okay. So that tells us how big it is. All right. And did it say when they wanted this back?
Back by April 1st.
April 1st. Well, that doesn't give us a whole bunch of them, but unless you guys have any big thoughts on it, I'm not going to stress over this. I was just going to suggest that Georgianne give them some copies of our newsletter. I imagine they probably don't like paper because it'll degrade, but that's the easiest thing to do. We can send them some newsletters. If they choose not to have them in, that's fine. And if they opening them up, 50 years, 100 years?
Yeah, I was going to put our 2024 organizational meeting minutes.
Okay.
And because that's what Teresa suggested. So.
Okay. Well, we'll do that and maybe give whatever we have up through April, the last 4 or 5 newsletters, whatever will fit in there. Okay, so we've got plenty of those. I mean, they're all on the website too. We can print them out, but so just have Georgianne give them to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. And that's it. I don't know, Chris, if you have any other correspondence?
Nope.
David?
No. I have nothing at this time to bring forward.
Okay, we'll move on then to ambulance. Denny's not here, but what I can tell you is there was an update to the bylaws at the last meeting, which was held on February 1st. And key changes in there is that they will change from meeting once a year to meeting quarterly. Main thing is going to be to review the actual statistics. I think that is important because we're now spending $189,000 a year for that service. So it's going to be important to make sure that we're getting the performance for what we're paying for. We've also got, and I'm sorry, it was $183,000 a year.
For the district.
For the district. And this is the Sandstone Joint Ambulance Board.
Which is Amherst,
district
South
that's
Amherst,
going to
and us.
review
Yes.
these. The other key change in the bylaws, as it stands right now, the city of Amherst gets 3 members, Amherst Township and the village each get 2. The bylaws previously identified the fire chief of the Amherst Fire Department as one of the de facto members, and the mayor got to appoint 1, and council was able to appoint 1. At first, the discussion was, well, geez, if the Amherst Fire Chief gets on, South Amherst Fire Chief should get on, which they did, and then it was South Amherst wanted the mayor and council each to get 1. I said, whoa, wait a minute. you get 3, you get 3, we get 2, and we're spending 30% of the money, and expect that probably to go up since ours is the growth area, you know, it probably makes more sense if we're going to do this, that each community that makes up the district as it stands today gets 3, plus that gives you an odd number in the event there's any, you need a decision on something, so you don't get a even number, and they all agree to that. So I guess the main thing is we've got to come up with some additional board members, and we also lost one. I believe she may have even left the township, but she served for many years, but she now spends half her year as a snowbird, so she didn't think it was appropriate that she stay on the board since she's gone. So just to be aware of it for everyone out here, if you know people, particularly those that are involved with emergency services, medical, EMTs, this sort of thing, is, you know, that are knowledgeable. It'd be nice if we have a couple of individuals that we can appoint to the board with these 2 openings. I think I covered the main things on the bylaws there, David. Let's see, the sheriff's not here. Zoning, Sam's not here, but we do have on, I believe, March 5th is the first Tuesday of the month, so there will, the key thing the zoning commission will be dealing with is the site plan review for the proposed Get-Go market and service station on the former Golden Acres property. And fortunately, we do have an architect in place, because that'll be, Tom Bodie will be dealing with that one and guiding the zoning commission. I don't know if there's anything else there on zoning, David, coming up that you're aware of.
No.
Okay.
Can I speak on zoning? Sam has been going out to verify the addresses and the businesses that we have within the township.
Okay.
And he's found, I think we have 150 businesses. A lot of them are not compliant with certificates of occupancy, and a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot, I think he found almost 20 that were, should be conditional uses that are operating, that we didn't even know about. So there is talk, we brought this up last year, of doing some kind of a business registration, a new business registration. That way, if we let the landlords know that certain things have to be conditional use, they just can't rent out a place for auto repairs or pet grooming or whatever, just to keep everybody on board. That way, when these places are changing, we're aware and we can get on it. Because a few of the conditional uses that weren't done 10 years ago, the prosecutor told us to let go because it's been 10 years.
Okay.
And they should have been conditional uses. And when complaints come in with conditional uses, we have better control over what they're doing, their hours of operation, whatever. So I know that's what he's working on right now.
Okay.
We're going to be bringing it before the board probably within the next month or so to do a new business registration.
Okay, and if he can, either you or Sam, talk with the prosecutor's office too, as citing which section of the ORC gives us that authority.
Yeah,
to.
we had talked to Tom Mangan, and we have some paperwork from him from last year in which he said we could do this.
Okay.
But yeah, the other issue that I know Sam's having is contacting the prosecutor's office and getting a timely response.
Yeah, it's not the same as what it used to be, so it's,
Yeah.
but Greg Peltz would be the one that, I know Dan Petticord, who's, since we'll be working with the civil division, has recommended that we work with Dan, or I'm sorry, Greg
Yeah,
Peltz.
he's called Greg, and it's been over a month and hasn't gotten an answer.
Okay, has he
So-
sent an email?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good, he's got a timestamp then on
Yeah,
it, but.
so, but just so you know, that's what he's been working on, and that's going to be brought up here pretty soon.
Okay.
We're trying to get all of everything in line before we bring it.
I think our fire prevention officer will be happy with that too.
Yeah,
so,
we've been working with Chris also.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously some of those changes involve changes, you know, between fire prevention and the commercial building inspector. And when you
Right,
really
and
change
the use
use.
is changing, so they need
Yeah, as long as we still keep it where, you know, we're open for business and don't make it, because that was, by the way, one of the other sessions they had down there. Okay, thanks, Linda. Here. Okay, roads, parks, and cemeteries, Superintendent Kevin Smarsh.
For starters, we have not had to deal with hardly any weather events. which is
Yeah,
a
isn't
good
that
thing.
nice?
Yeah, it's been good. I probably jinxed us, but.
How are we on our salt? Using our salt that we're supposed to?
Yeah,
Weren't we supposed to get so many tons and,
yep, we're at, we just had another 100-ton delivered on Monday. That was our 200-ton mark. We have 200 more ton yet to have in by the end of April.
and how much room do we have?
We have plenty of room for that.
Okay, for the other 200?
Yes.
Okay, that would be my concern.
Yep.
Digging on that because we didn't buy enough.
Right. Yeah, and speaking of the salt shed, we've been getting numbers, crunching numbers for the grant that Linda and Morgan had been working on. That's already been taken care of and sent in.
Yep.
You know, to get some of the salt shed, if not the whole canopy replaced. Just the back wall, we're gonna see how that works out.
Which grant he's talking about there, David?
On that storm.
It's an H2O, the H2 Ohio Rivers Initiative chloride grant.
Chloride
This
reduction.
is one that Governor DeWine had pushed through. It's the same one that the Stormwater District has been applying for, but,
This is to improve the salt shed, right?
right, and they did a
Well,
nice job of,
It's a water grant.
Chloride reduction.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
fluoride
guess it is
reduction.
water grant.
H2
Yeah, okay.
Ohio Rivers Initiative Chloride Reduction Grant.
Okay, fine.
We
Thank you.
apply, it's a grant up to 75,000, and we applied for $14,431 to replace the canopy on the salt shed. So hopefully we'll get it, we'll know at the end of February.
Other townships and a couple cities are putting in for the same.
I'm sure they'll get more than the funding that's available, so hopefully we get it. I mean, hats off to you guys. I know you were really pushing between getting the estimates in and, you know, getting the grant put together, and glad you got it through, because you don't know if it'll be there again. You know, just like the one we applied for on Overland Road, which 1 year, then it's gone. We weren't successful on that one, which is always frustrating. You put a lot of work into it, but that's the way on these discretionary grants, the way they work. But I appreciate you guys getting that one in, because that'd be a big one for us.
We had a burial last week. The yard waste is being ground. They started grinding it yesterday. I'm pretty sure he had it finished up today, and now they'll just start the haul out. Okay, we talked about it earlier about working on the park lighting. We had roadside trash. The regular maintenance has been happening, and I was talking a couple weeks ago about the services on the equipment. We found there is a fuel leak on the 1996 Ford. We have that drained down right now, and the tank is obsolete. You can't get the tank anymore, so we went through this with the driver's side a couple of years ago. We had it repaired, so that's what we're gonna go that route again and have that taken care of.
Okay.
And then also, just working with Linda, got estimates, we're ready. Already have one set up, is the mini grant. And then as of tomorrow, we're gonna work on for a second mini grant. Get them ready So we're right on schedule for when they do release the go-ahead.
Okay, great.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall, you may have told me in the past, I might have forgotten, any chip and seal work you think might,
Yeah, that's in the process right now.
or just getting you estimates then?
Yep, being, kind of figuring out exactly what was going to go down.
Okay,
I've been working with the county. Speaking of the county, there was well, I would just save that one. Well, it doesn't matter. It's already taken care of. But we got the email from 8135 Pile South Amherst Road. There was a concern of a sinkhole, and I went out, took a look at it. I've been in contact with the county, and they are taking care of it.
okay, good. Yeah, and we had discussed this before the meeting, the Shannon Mains. Glad that they let us know, because eyes and ears of residents, very helpful, even though this one happened to be the county, but to get those done early. But that's good. And it's going to be less soil running down through our stormwater system.
Correct.
Okay, anything else, Kevin?
Nope, that's it.
Any questions, David?
No.
Okay, Township Administrator Linda Ashley.
Some of the stuff has already been touched upon, but currently Morgan and I are working on 7 different grants. And poor Morgan, she got just thrown in the fire. She's working on the Lorraine County Public Health District grant. That's due on Monday, and she's trying to get 2 signs, one for each entrance, that would have the loops of the path, like a yellow for the main one, and then green for the other one, and blue, whatever
Okay.
color she's picked.
To have, that's something we talked about a long time ago.
Yeah, and then she went out and actually walked the path with the wheel and marked it all, has it all exact, how many miles, feet, whatever. So she's working on that. The estimate for the signs hopefully will be coming in tomorrow, and then we can get that mailed off, because it is due, as I said, Monday, but Monday is a holiday. So we need to get it in Friday. So she's been doing that. NOPEC, we already touched on that with the lights. We currently have $24,119 in our account. That's $12,458 from last year and the $661 from this year. So hopefully the lighting isn't that costly, and we could do another project too, but
Right.
we'll see. Chloride reduction grant we just talked about for the salt shed. Stormwater grant, we have the catch basin one completed. The other one we're going to do is catch basin repairs.
And while you're doing that,
Yep.
You see they have displayed up there as an example of what's the catch basins that are being repaired look like on the grant that you turned in, Linda.
Yes.
I know that you guys all work together on this, but hopefully we do receive that one. So this one, David, they've already completed, and we'll be having an authorizing resolution here shortly.
Right, so it'll be ready to go when they open it. And then the other one is going to be, is that one storm sewer repairs, replacement? Okay, that'll be our second one we'll work on tomorrow. There's a cemetery grant coming up in June, and Kevin just said that there's some tree work that needs to be done out there that's probably going to cost a couple $1,000s, so that would fit into the realm of extraordinary maintenance, so we could put in for that. And this year it's a $2,500 grant for the cemetery.
Okay.
And then we got, for NOPEC, the event sponsorship, we did get that $1,500. You did send me that, right, Chris? Did you, or did you
Not
not?
received.
You did not, okay. We will be getting that if we don't have it yet. They'll be putting that
I
into our
looked today,
account.
it's not there.
Okay. And then we have a new cleaning group that we hired to come in. Our other one went MIA. They just didn't show up one day, and they haven't called, returned emails, anything for 2 months now. I have no idea what happened to them. So we did get a new cleaning group. They were in once already. They seem to be okay. We'll see. You know, we have to watch them and see. And that's it. Besides, you know, Stephanie Perez I talked to, and then I talked to you about the new business registration. so, and I'm thankful I have
You
Morgan.
need anything
because-
else?
No. Morgan's been a very, very, very helpful.
Well, and that will be, and I know that you guys are helping also in the burden that's on the road crew and zoning too, so that,
Yes.
that
yeah,
helps.
We're doing that too, and then,
okay, well, with that then, we do have a prepared resolution here, the authorization of application for Lorraine County Stormwater District Mini Grant Financial Assistance for storm sewer system restoration and reduction of erosion and sediment. And I'm not going to read through all the details here, but the Stormwater District does have a total of $50,000 available for the mini grants. This would be for all the unincorporated areas, so the 18 townships in Lorraine County. So I'm just going to read section 1. The Amherst Township Road Superintendent Kevin Smarsh and Township Administrator Linda Ashley are authorized to submit 2 stormwater mini grant applications for financial assistance from Lorraine County Stormwater District for stormwater sewer replacement and improvement. The grant funding request on each application should not exceed $7,500, and the priority of the 2 applications should be identified in the event only one application is approved by the Lorraine County Stormwater District. The Amherst Township Road Superintendent, Township Administrator, or any of the Township Trustees are authorized to sign all Lorraine County Stormwater District application for mini grant related documentation and memorandum of understanding for the 2024 program year, and the rest is all boilerplate. So that'll be my motion.
Second.
Lynch,
Yes.
Euring,
Yes.
and that is 2824.
and Chris, could I have 4 certified copies? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I know that's a lot of work, and hopefully cross our fingers. By the way, the Stormwater District, the Stormwater Advisory Council, which typically reviews these for their March meeting, actually, it'll be the February meeting, they canceled it. The March meeting, which will be on March 20th, I typically go to those. They're usually on the same day as Lorraine County Township Association, but I already know I will not be able to be there. So, David, between you or Kevin or Linda, I'm telling you, it helps to be there and hear the discussion. I would be prepared to
When is
have the
this?
grant applications there
Is this,
on March 20th.
oh, March 20th.
They always meet on the 4th floor of Lorraine County Administration Building. Kind of changed things on the way you get in now, but
Got to go in the front door.
okay, that's different. So now they're not going to make it easy, so you probably have to park in the lot across on 2nd Street would probably be the closest, and go into the front door. I think they usually meet at 5 o'clock, and hopefully someone's there, because that's the way it used to be. We had to go in the front door years back, and I can't tell you how many times usually I call Don Romanchik on a cell phone. If I couldn't reach him, I try Mark McConnell, and then if I couldn't reach him, I've got to look in my contacts, the one engineer that they work with, hey, can someone come down and open up the door?
Which meeting is this? I'm sorry, on March?
This is the Stormwater Advisory Committee, SWAC.
I haven't seen anything about it yet, so.
Okay, well, I know that Don sent out an email. The one for February is canceled. And so the one on March, I will not be able to make. And this will be the first Lorraine County Township Association I've probably missed in years, but I won't be able to make that either. So again, it just helps if someone's there, and I would suggest you have copies of your grant applications right in front in case there's any questions or anything about them. Okay, we did not put a grant in for the general one because we've got these things already backed up waiting for the easements. I'm not sure where it's actually going to end because the way we wrote the grant for the bat house ditch, the ending point was dependent upon what the bids were that come in, and we can't solicit the bids till, we know we've got the easements. And so it's difficult to say, where we've been working up the bathhouse ditch to go any further, without having that information. The other potential project is the quarry ditch again. That's come up with some residents over there. That particular one, I was first told in the stormwater district that, well, that's going to be if the residents help commit some funds, because that doesn't impact our roads. Now, every one of these others, there's flooding in the roadway. Now, in talking with Dan Petticourt, he thought that could be handled, but I didn't continue to push on that one. So we do not have a general grant in. We'll just be going with the 2 mini grants. But that's one we might want to look at, but I can tell you, you're going to have some residents, I know several over there, are real strong in support, but I also understand just from the residents knowing the dynamics and their neighbors, it sounds like there's a couple over there that might also be resistant to anybody coming near their property. And if that's the case, then they're forced to go through the petition process before the Board of Commissioners. Okay, on the complaints, let's see, we know this one, the flooding on 58, that's still on hold. Sam's not here, so I don't know if that property maintenance one can come off or not on Broad Street. Street lighting there on Old Middle Ridge, David, is that still
That's
open?
still open. I gotta get that
Okay.
information.
The odors permitting across Old Middle Ridge, we've got to wait till the summertime on that. There is a new one here. This one, I'm marking them. I didn't get these on the agenda, but should have. It's dated 1/31. This first time we discussed this. This is a resident on Middle Ridge complaining about lighting that's attached at a neighbor's home that's shining in and disturbing their peace. I don't know if anything.
You should have a second one up there that she just brought in Monday. It's just more detailed. I
Oh,
like
there
it
is
up
a
there.
sec, oh, there was one here, I just,
Yep.
Oh,
It's the
thank
same
you.
person, same complaint, just more detail.
okay. Yeah, because I drove through there, but it wasn't dark enough to see myself, and I'm not going to keep running out. I wasn't even sure which neighbor they were talking about.
Sam was going to go this evening and drive by it. I did drive by it this evening. It is very bright. And I know Sam did talk to Mr. Nagy on the phone yesterday also.
Okay, so that's the one that,
That's the gentleman with the lights.
okay. Well, hopefully it can work something out, because, our zoning does specifically talk about glare and lighting, so Sam's working on this. So that's the real key, is this is going to be Sam's taking care of this one?
Her, Mrs. Blackshire, she called David, and David told her that she needed to call Sam. So that's why she came in on Monday. Apparently, there's a difference between street lighting on the streets and residential street lighting.
Yeah, well, this would still come under zoning, since we do specifically call it out in our general zoning provision.
Yeah.
Hopefully, just with, you typically want the directional lighting going down versus shining over at your neighbors, if you can do that, or put a baffle on it. There's all sorts of things that can be done.
He did say that he has the lights turned down as low as they'll go, and that he has them turned down at a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
But they're still illuminating all the way around and across the street and into our house.
Now, again, I'm sure they can determine how to fixture up a baffle for that. Pretty common.
Yeah, so Sam is working on it.
Okay. All right, thanks, Linda. Okay, the next one, Kevin's already addressed on the sinkhole. I can probably close that with the county engineers responsible for that one. Okay, David, is there anything on solid waste?
I have nothing to bring forward right now.
Okay.
Nothing. And there was no policy committee meeting today. There should be one in March.
Okay. All right, and Linda had mentioned the NOPEC grant. We did just receive the requirement of putting together the resolution authorizing all actions necessary to accept the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council 2024 Energized Community Grant. And Linda had indicated that's the $11,661. So this here is they provide us pretty much with everything in here in addition to the grant agreement that we'll have to sign. So I'm going to make the motion that the Township Board of Trustees finds and determines that it's in the best interest of the township to accept the NEC grant for 2024, enter into the attached grant agreement, and authorizes the chairman, president, or township administrator to sign and execute any documents or amendments of the grant agreement with NOPEC, which might be required to receive the approximate $11,661 of the 2024 NEC grant funds. The rest is all boilerplate that's on here, so that'll be my motion.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
You'll notice the way that's written, Linda, you can sign that grant agreement.
Yes.
How many
I will
hours a
need you
week
to
do
sign the
spend
award though,
typing,
right?
Neil? How many hours a week do you spend typing?
Well, this one was quite a bit, but some of these, once you get your template going, David, you find out it becomes more efficient. It really gives you a history to look back on things, and always a concern like, people say, hey, what were we doing with that? If you notice, I tried to put everything together in here to make it easy for people. Give you the opportunity to read it before the meeting too, but it is a lot of work.
Good job out of you, Neil.
I'm sorry, what number did you say that was, Chris?
29.
Thank you.
2924.
And I'll need a certified copy of that one also, please. Everybody requires certified copies.
Yeah. Okay, and the final one under new business, Morgan, can you bring up the, I think we had this one for the large wind farms. Okay. This is one we discussed at several meetings in the past. I was hoping Denny would be here because I said I'd prefer that all three trustees be here. This is where with the change in the law is these utility scale wind and solar projects. And in the past, the Ohio Power Siting Board made the determination as to approval or the permitting or not permitting of these projects. Well, the laws changed recently, and revised code 303.58 is the update, where now the Board of County Commissioners can either set aside the whole township or portion of the township, any of the areas in the unincorporated area, where these large utility scale wind and solar projects would not be permitted. There is a process where if a large enough project comes through and it seems to make sense, I assume that you'd also have no objection from adjoining property owners that they can change back and then allow it. The township has no direct authority over these large-scale projects, which tend to be 50 megawatts and above. To put that in perspective, depending upon whose number you want to believe, if you search on this and just Google it, it typically says you need 5 to 10 acres per megawatt. So that would mean a minimum of 250 acres. At the OTA conference, one of the gentlemen that was given the presentation on the legislation they're proposing for community scale wind and solar projects that would be under 20 megawatts, he said 3 to 5 acres. So we're still in that neighborhood of 150 to 250 acres. What we did in the township is we want to, first off, find out, well, what is even the potential here in our township? So Linda did compile for all of our lands in Amherst Township that are 10 acres or more. And she identified, and I think you might have worked with Morgan, someone else, I don't know, but they identified 119 parcels. And they ranged in size from 10.2 to 104 acres per parcel. That gives you an average of 26.37 acres per parcel and a median of 19.9, so say 20 acres. So half of them were more than 20 acres, half of them were less than 20 acres. Well, even if we go the low end of 3 acres per, you need 150 acres. So that kind of limits it. Now, realize some of these parcels are adjoining, so if you combine with several property owners, you can get up to that 150 acres. But we did not have any one specific parcel that was that large. So I think that reduces the probability of one of these utility scale projects appearing in our township. And realize these utility scale projects tend to want to be near transmission lines. So think of the large lattice structures, which we do have several running through our township. I do know there are other townships in Lorain County in our southern portion that have been approached already by these organizations, and some of them are seriously considering whether they do it or don't do it. But, you know, it all comes down to money and alternative uses of their land. The other thing is, and what I tried to put together in here is a rationale for what our township's position would be if we do approve this, because I've struggled with this one, which way it should be. So we did put a newsletter article out there so that the residents were aware we've received this request and are considering it. I've received no feedback from any resident on this. I don't know, Linda, if you've gotten any calls on it. David, have you received any calls on this?
No, I have nothing on these.
Okay. So I don't know where the residents sit on this, but I certainly hate to wait until one comes in and then it's too late because they're going to locate, and I don't really want to see something become controversial. At the same time, we have to respect property owners' rights of putting these in. We also polled our zoning commission, and they were pretty much unanimous that they would prefer to see neither, but if the trustees agreed to any, they felt that the solar would be less invasive than the wind turbines. They pretty much would prefer that the Board of Trustees not permit these anywhere in the township. So this resolution, the way it's structured, if we just walk down the whereases here, is that we recognize the ability and the desire right now of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners to prohibit these types of utility scale alternative energy operations within the unincorporated area, and that the county, in consultation with representatives from the various townships, is looking for us to designate what restricted areas we would like to see in our township. So at this point I'm saying let's adopt that we just prohibit it altogether so that to protect and maintain the current nature and character of Amherst Township. So particularly what we're talking, these large parcels tend to be agriculture right now. So think of the west side of our township and the southern part of the township. We recognize the board can modify the resolution in support to accommodate any change in circumstances, either that the township desires, which is only going to happen if we're approached by one of these, and I would think they'd have to probably be doing it from a financial end on how much that could provide to the property owner or what benefits there might be to the township. That the township has notified our residents of the Board of County Commissioners' consideration of this prohibition of wind and solar through our township newsletter. We did discuss, that was published in December of 2023. We've discussed this prohibition of wind and solar facilities on November 7th at the Township Zoning Commission meeting, and I've already mentioned what their position was. And during the regular trustee meeting in November 14th, but we also just discussed at our last meeting. And that since the board has received no response from residents on the proposed prohibition, but the zoning commission members preferred the prohibition of these wind and solar facilities, and that we've already gone through and at least from a quantitative standpoint, analyzed the potential of where these could locate, with a total of over 3,000 acres in size from 10 to 104 acres, with the average of 26.4 and the median of 20. We also, when we look at those properties, particularly the ones that were along 58 and 113, even though they were larger parcels, they've got sanitary sewers, they've got water, they've got natural gas, so the expectation, and if they don't, of those areas, it's too valuable for other uses than wind and solar. And even those that don't today, the expectation is that probably in less than 20 years, they will have those utilities. Assuming growth continues at the rate it is today. Whereas if you put in these wind and solar things, they're usually talking of leases up to 30 years. Once they're in, you're not backing them out. So you've got a 30-year history with them. So the Amherst Township zoning resolution does permit one or more wind turbines and solar panels and associated facilities that are primarily dedicated to providing electrical power to a single customer or single location. So we currently provide that. So all that being said, using that as the rationale, I'd like to make the motion that the board is in support of prohibiting the construction of wind and solar facilities within the entirety of Amherst Township. The board offers the above described areas to the county for consideration and inclusion within the restricted areas, prohibiting the construction of wind and solar facilities, and the fiscal officer is directed to provide the county with a certified copy of this resolution. So that'll be my motion.
I'll second. Get it on the floor.
Is there any other
Motion.
discussion?
Yes. First and foremost, start with a piece of property. You've got maybe a 250, 300 acre piece next to your home. And right now, you can wind up with 600 homes next to you. And what kind of impact do you think that's going to have on the community? And you don't have much of a say on that. Now they're not going to be producing traffic. There may be a fire call if one came apart. I don't think there's going to be too many ambulance runs. There's not going to be a large demand for services from these windmill farms for us as a township, and I don't think there's going to be any roads created that we're going to have to maintain. Yet here we are. You ask me, what would I, if I had to choose between 600 homes and a windmill farm? I would probably take the windmill farm. I really would. I think the impact on community will be less. Am I afraid of what, towers? Well, I look around and all I see are cell phone towers. And nobody's complaining about those.
There's complaints about them. It's just that those
Nothing
you have
you
no
can
say
do,
over.
but they're already there. They're already there. The horizon is broken with the cell phone towers and that. And as you said, and I think that's a big reason. I think it's even bigger than what you say is the land is too expensive. It's too broken up here. There's too much access to utilities. It's too valuable. Most of the places where these are going in, they're going to more rural areas, and there's not a large urban area next to it. It's more open. I don't think there's the utilities available that there are here. And third, just knowing people, I don't see it as an issue in the township right now. I just don't, And I know all these other things going on, and we're attacking windmills. That's the way I look at it, and I'm sorry, but that's the way I look at it, That's the way I feel. I hope I've expressed myself, and I hope you understand the way I feel. Whether you agree or not, I don't know, but I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do, David. I don't have because of our location, I don't see it as something that I would expect to happen. I think it'd be low probability. Where I strongly disagree with you, though, is to say it's not an issue now, so why do anything? I kind of take the approach, don't wait until something becomes an issue, is step up ahead of time and try and prevent that from occurring and getting something that your community is going to support.
I think...
Now, wait a minute, I let you speak
Oh,
the
go
whole
ahead,
time.
go
I never
ahead.
interrupted you.
Go ahead.
In terms of housing, and this, I may be interpreting what you said, it sounds like you would like to see wind turbines and solar panels as a method of preventing housing. And you use the example of 300 to 600 homes around you versus wind turbines or solar, like people would prefer that. Well, that's your opinion. I'm going to speak from experience. I am the only trustee here that's going to have those 300 to 600 homes surrounding me that you refer to. And when you say that, you're not saying over what density. Realize they're not all going to be right next to your property. If I had a choice of looking at a field of windmills turning around versus housing, I think I'll choose the housing right now. I don't want to see a bunch of turbines blowing through next to me, nor would I care to have these large solar panels all over the place. So that is a matter of all sorts of different people. The way I see it is, this doesn't prevent those from ever occurring, but there's a process that the Board of Commissioners would have to go through if the township were approached and decided that they want to do this. So that was my position. But if you're saying you just want to vote no, that's okay too, David. I'm certainly not going to, fall on my sword over this one. So unless you've got something else, I'm prepared to vote.
Okay.
All right, Chris?
Lynch.
Yes.
Uri.
No.
Okay, so David, can you do me a favor and give me in writing your reasons for the no, so I can put all that together and send it back to the county commissioners?
Okay.
All right? And can you have that then this week?
I'll try.
Well, it's got to be this week,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I've already
Yeah.
had Jacob Puller contact me to see what we're doing on this, and I told him we'd make a decision at this evening's meeting. So I don't want to put this off too long. I mean, I can actually call him or send him an email
Okay,
that
let me see
we
if I put
voted
those.
down.
Put down my causes and give them to you, okay?
Okay. And when we vote no, does that get a resolution number?
Yes.
Because it was brought to the floor, so
Yes,
what's the
and,
number on that?
Actually,
21024.
anytime you
210?
Yes.
you make something and it doesn't get seconded, that's actually going to have a number on it. If I made a motion for something next and you didn't want to second it, it'd be motion 211. It wouldn't be resolution, it'd be motion 211. And it would say made by me, second, none. Okay, so there's no, to make it to the floor. And then the next one.
Is there
would
any
be
other business?
212. That's no other business.
All right, then our next
Go ahead.
regular meeting will be at 7 o'clock on, oops, this is a mistake. That'll be on Tuesday, the 27th, February 27th. No need for a work session. No audience here. Any need for an executive session? If Not, then I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I wanted to make it, but okay, I'll second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.